Hello and welcome to San Dimas School of Film. My name's Al and I'm with Tim.
Hey.
And Jules.
How you going?
And Bradley.
Sick.
San Dimas School of Film's podcast where four blokes end up talking about movies anyway, so we may as well record it.
Boom.
It was my choice today, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
We came off the back of Moon last episode.
How good was Moon?
Oh,
Can we talk about Moon again today?
Nah, let's talk about Oblivion.
I was so on board with that film. Oh, well played, Timmy.
Thank you.
But alas, it's my turn now, as if my turn wasn't last week as well. And I went with 1975's Jaws. A great film. Spielberg's second feature. He's like 27 or something.
So first was...
Duel.
Yes. Love that movie.
That film rules.
rules.
Yeah.
But, more importantly, Brad's back this week.
Hey.
History with Brad.
All right.
Take it away.
I must apologise for my tardiness for last week. Okay, just a quick wrap up. 1975, year before I was born. According to this site that I found on Google, a few things interesting about 75. Mood rings were popular. Rubik's Cubes. Pet rocks apparently were pretty big. 8 tracks. Disco. Pez Candy. Magic 8 balls. Song of the year was The Captain and Tennille with Love Will Keep Us Together.
Ooh.
A couple of movies that came out in 1975 were One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Jaws, obviously, Nashville, Dog Day Afternoon, and Barry Lyndon. Probably the most bizarre of the Kubrick films.
Yeah. Dog Day Afternoon is great.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Yeah.
You boys haven't seen that.
No. You know what this is? This is just Highlander all over again. These one side of the room we got, wow, this great movie, and we're like, that movie's gonna suck. Just,
Nah, Dog Day Afternoon is good. Check it out.
Some other slightly interesting things that happened in 1975. Vietnam War ended. VHS was invented.
Yeah.
Wow.
Margaret Thatcher was elected into to lead Britain's Conservative Party. We all know where that went. Here we go. Computer hobbyists Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs began work on computer designs. Together, they developed the Apple I prototype.
Ooh.
That didn't go anywhere.
No, I haven't heard anything about that one.
And Arthur Ashe won Wimbledon men's title.
Oh, good.
Amazing. Who
And
won
the
the ice
women's?
hockey, man? Who won the ice hockey?
It's not in
Stanley
here.
Cup. Come on, man.
No
This
Stanley
whole
Cup.
thing's
Yeah,
around
no,
Stanley Cup.
I'm really sorry. I can tell you. Hang on. It's
It's got to be Montreal. I
This
reckon.
whole podcast is a ruse.
It's either Detroit or Montreal. That's what I'm getting.
No. Pittsburgh won the Super Bowl, according to this. Cincinnati won the World Series. And Golden State Warriors won their NBA.
but no
There
Stanley
we
Cup.
go. No Stanley Cup, I know.
Tumbleweeds.
There's tennis.
Maybe it wasn't held that year, Tim.
It was a dark day.
Yeah.
It obviously wasn't the Habs or anyone else of interest.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Brad.
No worries.
History with Brad.
History with Brad.
Jaws.
Jaws.
Rock on. Sick film.
Great film. I may have said it last episode, but Jaws is touted as one of the first major summer blockbusters. Jaws changed the face of cinema and release dates and I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
Jaws didn't
it was
only change
big.
cinema, though. Jaws changed people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, some people never went back to a beach again.
That's
You know,
it.
It changed humanity.
it's a fair call.
It did.
It's a big shark.
Yeah.
It's
But
a
it
horror.
was-
It is-
Spoiler alert.
but yeah, there is a shark.
But
in
it's
this
still something that's referenced today.
Yeah, and
Oh, absolutely.
everybody knows the theme.
Yeah.
Right, John Williams' score. Everybody knows it.
movie.
But like it's one of the major things that like vilified sharks. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like
guess
it's
so.
it.
Yeah, like sharks just bloody
Sharks
in the water.
sharks were just
swimming
just chilling,
and
and then
That's it. I'm sure every kid has
But
been
this-
in his pool and pretend to be a shark and gone doon and like actually made that music.
but it changed people's perceptions of sharks. This film, like it drastically altered people's perception of sharks, and particularly obviously the great white shark as a massive
as a bad
problem.
guy.
Yeah.
Killing,
Bad guy.
and
That's
thrashing.
as a
And I
bad
think
guy.
that there was, I don't know where I saw this, whether it was like a documentary or whether I read it somewhere, but like there was a lot of shark killing going on after this film. Like,
Yeah.
there was a lot of people, going out hunting sharks and, that sort of thing. And everyone was like,
surprised.
string them up and that
Damn,
sort of
the
thing. Like
sharks.
it was pretty brutal, I think. So it obviously had a massive impact on people.
It's because they were taking people's jobs.
The sharks. Yeah.
Yep.
So
move
thanks for
on,
that, Brad. Yeah. Thanks for that political statement.
Yeah.
Look, this film is fantastic on so many different levels, from start to end. Its success has come largely from the fact that the shark didn't work.
Yeah.
The shark was named Bruce after Steven Spielberg's lawyer, and
Really?
and there were large portions of the film that had to be reimagined, I guess, because the shark wasn't working, and it was a constant battle. And in the interviews with Steven Spielberg, he's just like, the shark just never do what they wanted to do. They'd put it in and it would sink straight to the bottom, or it wouldn't, it just wouldn't work. So they had to do a lot of shooting around the shark, and as a result, it became a lot more about the characters, particularly the three principal characters, and how they interact with each other. And the shark is just kind of a byproduct, really. Like, it's just there in the background.
Did that the issues with the shark, did that have anything to do with the fact that we don't see the shark for so long?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
And
Because
explain.
I thought that was just
That's
good
the
writing.
brilliance of the film.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the fact
I-
you don't see it.
Like I made note. I think we saw it an hour and 2 minutes in or something. It was the first time we saw it. But I put that down to good
Hours.
writing as opposed to anything else.
Yeah.
Hour 17 was the
First glimpse.
chumming scene.
Chumming.
Where we're going to need a bigger boat.
Ah.
Like, when you first get a proper glance at the shark.
The 102 is where you see it under the water, getting that dude that's in that little boat near
Little
the kids in
Oh,
that
yeah.
in that little inlet bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it really adds like
But before
the
that,
terror,
you saw
like-
nothing.
yeah,
You saw it from the shark's point of view. That's it.
But that's the
There-
whole thing, the great unknown.
yeah,
Yeah.
so many people are getting wiped out, and you don't even see it. It's like because you go in the water, like you go for a swim, and you're sitting on top of the water, and you can't see anything that's underneath, and that's I think just worked so well.
It just
obviously
it plays on that fear
played-
so strongly.
Oh, that's it, and it becomes so much about the psychology of it. One thing I really liked about it was obviously one of the things with this movie is they're going for massive emotional devastation, right? And obviously the girl gets eaten at the start, and you're like, that is one of the most horrific scenes ever.
It's so brutal.
It is so brutal. She like the way she's screaming with the water in her mouth.
Yeah.
It is horrible. But one thing I really, not that I liked it, but I liked it from a film point of view, was the fact that the scene on the beach. I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit here, but the scene on the beach where obviously there's been the girl got attacked, and what's his name, Brody, the Sergeant Brody.
Chief Brody.
Chief Brody.
Chief Brody, thank you. He's sitting on the beach and he's kind of looking at everyone going, who's going to get attacked? But then out of all the people, it's the kid. And it's like
I want to talk about that scene a lot.
that. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Well, we can come back to. Oh, yeah, fuck, we'll talk about it now. But like, out of all the people, you're like, oh, if an adult got killed, you'd be like, oh, you're like, wow, that's horrible, adults. But it's the fact that the kid gets eaten out of all the people that adds like the most amount of devastation and fear and like, oh my god, it will go for anybody, including children, and like, yeah, that adds the terror.
It's not a child though. It's like an older teenage girl.
No.
No, we're talking about the
That's
second.
Oh no,
different scene.
the second scene.
The
Sorry,
boy who's on the yellow line.
yeah.
yeah.
But see, what makes that very first death so strong as well is that they're at a party and they're very carefree and then
epitome of hippies, right? In that scene, I swear to God.
Just teenagers had a few beers.
and then out of nowhere, nastiness, and it just sort of continues from there at this really steady pace of intensity. Well, it's not that steady pace. It does ebb and flow, but in these beautiful moments of like, oh, this is a quiet bit, and we get to know some characters, and then there's this like crescendo of like when you see when the cop finds the arm,
Yeah.
you know, and you're like, oh, that's, you know, and the cop, you know, the whistle's like hanging out of his mouth, and he's, you know, and then the next scene he's like sipping water because he's just distraught. You know, it has these like, it's just a wave of emotion.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah.
There's a lot of really good subtleties in this film, like just like little lines that don't generally make it into films these days because they're like, oh, it's not relevant to the story, so we won't put it in. Like little things like, you know, like, oh, can I just have a glass of water? Because like, you know, when the scientist is doing the autopsy, he's like, can I have a glass? Hooper, thank you. He's like, can I please have a glass of water? And yeah, it's like, you know, it just adds the shock value to it.
It adds a sort of a human element
Yeah.
because this guy. So we get introduced to Hooper, the oceanographic, and he's basically like, he's not a uni student, but you know, he's this young bloke who's kind of fairly new in the field. We discover later on he's sort of come from money, so he's got all this equipment, but he's reasonably, like, he's very knowledge, but he's, you know, he's the young guy in the picture, right? You got Chief Brody and then Quint, and so that, you know, like, he knows all this stuff about sharks, and you feel like, yeah, he's been out, I guess, but a lot of it's sort of study.
Yeah.
And then he's, you know, he would have never have needed to find himself performing an autopsy before.
Yeah.
And so just that little throwaway line of, could I get a glass of water, gives you that impression that he's really struggling with this. Like, this isn't something he does every day.
Yeah.
But without telegraphing that to you,
That real
they
human
just drop
element.
in that little line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice.
What were you going to say about the scene? So the scene where the kid got attacked.
So there's a really good look. I'm not going to do it justice. There's a really good scene breakdown. I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube, but it's definitely on Vimeo. If you type in Jaws scene breakdown, this guy goes through this scene bit by bit and shows you why Steven Spielberg's moving the camera in this way and who he's showing it on, and just how precise things are lined up, and, you know, who to focus on, and it tells you how Steven Spielberg directs you as an audience member at what to look at when and why you're looking at it without you really knowing or understanding why. Like, so the kid, for example, like you said, the kid getting killed is nasty. Like, that's full on. But he televises that quite early on in that scene. But amongst showing you clips of the fat lady or the guy with the dog, right?
Yeah.
So, like, at that point in the scene, it could be anybody, right?
Yeah.
Here's a kid, here's a fat lady, here's a dog, here's a guy with the dog, you know, like, we don't really
who's
know.
it going to be?
Yeah, but then we follow the kid and we get to know the kid a bit more.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you know, because if you hadn't seen it, you know, before, you're like, oh, I don't really know what's happening here. We're just following people on the beach.
Yeah.
And then it goes up to Chief Brody, who's looking off in the distance. And then there are a bunch of really sharp cuts of a bunch of different things happening all at once. So you get this idea that Chief Brody is completely powerless in this situation. He's had the town officials in his ear going, you can't close the beach. This is our biggest weekend of the year. But he's had this woman die on the beach that he knew about but hasn't really been publicized. So he's really torn, but there's so much going on. There's no possible way he can stop whatever's about to happen.
Yeah.
And then there's that really sweet...
The pullback zoom.
yeah, it's a
shot,
pull.
like-
It's a dolly zoom. So
You see it quite a bit, don't you? That.
yeah, it was sort of used a lot in Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo to get that vertigo sensation. But it's used here as this like really sharp realization of like, he hasn't done anything about this. There's no way he could have stopped it, but now it's all on him.
Yeah.
Because like, it's going to come down on him like a ton of bricks now that this little kid's been taken.
Yeah.
It's a really great clip. It's like 20, 30 minutes, and he pulls it all apart and pauses it and explains it all. It's check it out.
I haven't seen that particular breakdown. It was something I just noticed watching it because I watched it last night as a refresher, and like I kind of get that idea in my head that in that scene, you know, Sergeant Brody he's he's got a lot of chaos going in front of him in this amazingly calm scene, right? So obviously it's just people floating in the water. And the chaos that I noticed was the fact that when he's sitting there and it's doing the cut shots between all the different people, the cut shots, there's no clear, distinct, switch from one camera shot to another camera shot. The way it does it is that somebody walks in front of the camera.
Wipes.
They're all wipes of someone walking in front of the camera. And I'm like, is this a way that Spielberg is kind of representing the chaos around Brody in this amazing, just someone walking in front of Brody for a split second is enough for him to go, oh, you're in my way, or, you're causing panic.
Yeah.
Because each time it wipes, the camera gets closer to him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's to demonstrate that he can't watch everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's total. It's so.
Such a good scene.
Yeah.
Such
It's
a good
like-
scene.
And these tiny tidbits. The old bloke, comes up and he's like, "Oh, you should get in the water, Chief. It's really nice." And Chief Brody goes, "That's some bad hat, Harry."
Some bad hat, Harry.
Yeah, which is
What is that? I was trying to pick it. I couldn't remember. I know it's at the end of something.
No, it's Bryan Singer's production company. So Bryan Singer, who directed all the X-Men films and stuff, it's his production company. From he's taken it from that.
Yeah.
That
Because
line.
it's a little animated thing at the end. There's a particular TV show that I've seen. At the end of each episode, it's got a little animation. It goes, "That's some bad hat, Harry."
Bryan Singer.
I
TV.
can't remember the TV show. Oh, it's going to drive me crazy.
No
But
idea.
Someone look it up.
I'll upload it one day. So going back to the start, I wanted to ask again, Al. I want to ask you the question because you've had experience in film.
Vast
Especially in
experience.
1975.
Yeah. No. Because I didn't want to look into it because I figured discussing it was better. The night shots. What do they do? They tint the lens. So they shoot it during the day with a tinted lens. Is that how it is? Or they're not actually shooting during the night? Because I swear to God, you see these movies, a lot of these older films have these night shots, and you're like, I swear that's daytime.
It's during the day, yeah. I don't know how they
No.
did that. Like, lenses
Obviously.
and stuff are...
Because I think
at a stage
cameras
now.
back then, I don't think had a very good time filming in the dark. And obviously, there's a
Well-
few shots where it's very clear in the dark. And
Was
I'm like,
it last
looks-
episode? No, it was this one you were talking about Barry Lindemann.
Hmm.
That was
Barry
all
Lyndon.
shot... Sorry,
Lyndon.
Barry Lindgren. Was all shot by candlelight, like natural
Yeah, yeah,
candlelight.
yeah.
And the aperture was so wide to let all that light in.
Oh, I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah.
now. Sorry. Anyway.
So that's like... And that's, touted as like a huge feat in...
Yeah, but it also
minimum
gave this
light.
beautiful softness to that,
Yeah.
to that film.
Yeah.
It's stunning. It's beautiful. But you're right. That does look like day tinted night.
Because I know that.
But it's also like twilight.
oh, yeah.
Like it's early morning, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, because
not like Twilight the movie, because I was about to stab you with
The
sun-
whatever
the
I
sun-
could
but I
get.
the
But I
sun's
mean, the
rising.
sun's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're doing some production, you're not gonna, work with that.
That would be
15-minute
Dawn,
window.
not Twilight.
Oh yeah.
Dawn. Yeah.
Sorry.
So I know because I know
Science.
there's a few of the night shots in Point Break. I know we're not discussing Point Break anymore, but I know that in a couple of shots of Point Break, when we were discussing Point Break, I didn't bring it up at the time, but a couple of those night shots are the same deal. They have clearly been filmed during the day because the sun is blazing, but they put this epic tint. I don't know whether it's post production or wherever they do it, whether they're doing it when they film, whether they tint the lens. I don't know. I have to look it up. I thought you might have known, so
Sorry.
that's why I asked you.
Sorry. I just got the coffees.
Yeah.
The tension was just like paramount in this film. I was babbling before about
Absolutely.
like the waves of tension, but like there's tension in a scene and then there's not, and then there is like just the scene with the pier
Oh,
getting ripped off, and then the shark turns around and comes back in. Like the number of times you don't see the shark, but you know the shark is there, is so frequent in this film. Like you look at all the barrel sequences at the end. Like the shark is not in those shots at all. It's just a barrel going through the water, but you get such a visual image of this shark. And the pier was the same thing. Like it was a pier floating towards a bloke who was swimming, and his mate going, "Dude, the pier's coming. Get out of the water." But you're sitting there going, "Dude, you're gonna get eaten by the pier."
Dude, peers don't do that. Get
Piers
out.
don't- yeah.
Peers don't chase after you. Yeah.
But like again, that's just sort of everything coming together. That music being so strong, and the build up to all that.
I think at the start, or the first half at least of the film, that iconic music is only appearing when the sharks around. But I think later on, it happens a bit more frequently even when the shark's not. Is that right? Or is it only when the shark's attacking or present?
I would
No,
have said
the music's not playing when the shark's attacking. It's that the music is.
Sorry, and you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
is that
shark's coming.
when you
When
know
the
it's
shark's
there,
there, yeah.
but you can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving away from the first couple of scenes.
but they're so good.
The whole movie's brilliant. Like I was saying before, I watch this movie 4, 5, maybe 6 times a year. This is one of my all-time favorite films.
Nice.
And my wife just like walks past the DVD player, picks up the cover, and says, "Really? Again?" And it's like, "Yeah."
Should be you should give me a call, man.
No worries. What are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely love this film,
Oh, I
and
can't-
I've watched it that many times, and I never get sick of it, and it just keeps me excited the whole time. But the thing I love about it, it could almost not have the shark in it. I love the 3 characters,
Oh, they're so good.
and I love the attention to detail in the film. So the whole point of the film is that it's a great white shark in an area where there should not be sharks at all, other than little ones, let alone a great white shark. So they've put their attention to detail on the facts that what's the scientist's name? I always forget his name.
Hooper.
Yeah, Hooper.
I
Sorry.
love that
facts
you
he
watch
comes
it
out
like
with.
4 times
Yeah,
a
I
year.
know. Yeah, I know, that's so weird. Yeah, I just have a mental blank. But the facts that he comes out with are actual shark facts, and this goes back to the fact that they use the tailors, so the cinematographers,
Viv and
Valerie,
Val. Sorry.
yeah, and I can't remember her husband's name, but
Val
and
and
these
old
guys are legendary shark people. They did all the National Geographic stuff for about 105 years, and so they were the actual. What do these sharks do? And they got all the correct information and all the correct information on all the other sharks.
Well, they provided all the footage.
All the
too.
all the actual shark footage is
Yeah.
provided by them, and I just love the attention to detail, and even to the point where it's basically set up as a thriller film, but there's great bits of comedy in it.
Oh.
There's some excellent history when he's talking about the
my God, the Indianapolis.
about the Indianapolis and
That-
what happened and things like that, and these are all factual things. Nothing's made up.
Yeah.
They're not doing the typical Hollywood thing now and just making facts up that aren't real. They've actually done their research.
That
It's
monologue
great. I love it. Oh, it's
is
fantastic.
just breathtaking.
And that's probably that scene is probably the best scene in the movie
Now,
for me.
which scene are we talking about?
Where he's talking about the USS Indianapolis.
Oh,
and
sorry.
they're all in the water.
When you said
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about a car race. Sorry, no, no, absolutely, yeah.
And
sorry.
then that scene's interrupted
Yeah, by the shark.
by the shark.
That's all right.
After the singing and and all that sort of stuff, and they're making all the noise, and all of a sudden, bang! It's
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ, what the hell happened? But so much funny, just great one-liners and bits of comedy stings. So we were talking about earlier, the car in the yard, and
Yeah,
then,
the
all
car
that,
in the
Yeah,
yard.
yeah.
and just bits and pieces like that just you giggle and
Is the hunt? Is it Quinn or Quint?
Quint.
Quint. I the first scene that he's in that little town meeting. When oh man, I laughed so hard when he did the down the blackboard.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look at this cowboy. And the first thing I thought of was, and obviously I think they probably referenced Quint. Has anyone seen The Ghost in the Darkness?
Yeah.
Not since you watched it 1,000
a
times.
long time ago.
Yeah. So, have you seen Ghost? You
I feel
would
like I
seen it.
have.
Ghost in the Darkness. Basically, they're building a railroad through Africa. And
A tiger in Africa?
Oh, yeah.
and
Great
it-
film.
And yeah, these lions start eating all the workers.
Workers, yeah.
And they call in Michael Douglas, who's the hunter. And as soon as I saw Quint, I'm like, oh, this is who Michael Douglas was based on. 'Cause he's like the same kind of just blasé, kind of, he always seems pissed, like just kind of drunk a bit.
He's like bloody Robert Muldoon.
well,
Clever
mate,
girl.
I think Muldoon,
Nah, because Quint's like, he's like, for this much money, like it's a business. He's like, for this much money, I'll give you the head, the tail, the bits in the middle, whatever you want. I'll give you the whole thing. Like,
And I love the
Muldoon was too structured though.
Yes.
He was part of a structure. These guys are cowboys.
Cowboys.
They're
Yeah.
not. They're not.
Well, I think
They're not
that's
on
the,
a salary or anything like Muldoon. They're
Yeah. And that's the great thing about the three characters is that they literally are 3 points of a triangle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've got Quint that's just pay me money, I'll catch you a shark. Yeah. And you've got Hooper that's like, no, we actually need to work out what's going on. Let's
love sharks,
loves the
study
sharks.
sharks, and the other guy's afraid of water.
yeah. That's it. And you've got. Why am I having mental blanks?
Hooper.
No,
Brody.
Brody. Thank you.
Martin
terrible.
Brody, yeah? Is that right? Martin? Is his name Martin?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
Tumbleweeds. Roll
Chief,
the
I think, is his first
Chief.
name. So he's there, and all he's doing is, I just want this shark gone because this is my job, and I took this job because it's piss easy.
I love the fact that he was such a rookie. Not at police. Like he had, like the movie really makes reference a couple of times to how little he knows about sharks or anything like that. Like it's really good. Like it's not like
because
he
he's
read
come
one
from
book.
New York.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yuck.
Brody's like Sergeant Angel from.
I was
from
just
Hot
about
Fuzz.
to say Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah,
yeah.
like I love Quint's character. He's like one of the greatest characters ever written.
personified by the scene where they're getting ready to go out in the orca.
That's exactly where I was going. I know
And
it's going.
he's just like off the chain crazy.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And they're packing the cage.
Oh.
Cage goes in the water.
What are you doing, Homer?
Man goes in the water.
Sharks
in the water.
Salsa shark. Clerks reference.
Farewell and adieu to you, Spanish ladies. Oh, great! I love it.
But it was just all these so Robert Shaw is like
Who's
classic
awesome?
actor, yeah,
Absolutely.
But he apparently, you know that like little rhyme he said. Oh, what is it? Something about
Right, he talks a lot of shit.
this is someone losing her virginity.
Yeah.
Not bad for this here vicinity. He'd
Yeah.
read that on like a gravestone somewhere in Ireland, like,
God.
and just thrown it in. Just
Oh,
had
it's a
lived it in.
morbid line. Throw it in with a
Yeah.
morbid film.
But like that scene is bananas,
Uh,
right? He's fully getting down Hooper's throat. He's like, "Let me see those hands. These are city hands, you know.
Yeah.
And tie me a sheep shank." And he's like, "Oh, you know."
I really liked
great.
it how after Hooper ties the sheep shank, rather than even looking at it, he just throws it aside.
Yeah.
Like he's like it's like he's testing him, but he's not. You know, like
Yeah.
just throws it aside. But I liked with Brody. One thing that I really liked, I made a note of, was he answers the phone. So after the very first attack, and I was like, this is a really good insight into his character. That he's kind of like come from the big city, lights and clockwork, and it was a line when he answers the phone. He's like, "Hey, Brody, blah blah blah," and the first thing he says, "Do they float or do they wash up?" Like, and he's clearly
Yeah.
referring to, okay, so there's been, someone who's possibly drowned or whatever. And he's like, instead of being like, oh, how horrible, or blah, 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 like, he's just, I'm police chief. Yep. Do they float? Do they wash up?
Yeah.
Like, I love that. I thought that was a great
Tell you
establishment.
what I really liked about that scene is that Brody's in the foreground and his wife and son are in the background, and his son's cut himself on the swing or something.
Yeah.
Like something that just like that's his family life going on in the background.
Yeah.
And his work life going on in the foreground, right?
Yeah.
Now they're out of focus, but the volume is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So we're concentrating more on what Brody's saying because he's closer and in focus.
Yeah.
But it's confusing because you're still taking in the volume from the wife and the son. So it gives this like this sort of chaos or this division of like this is both happening at once. Like
'Cause there's a
he's
lot of
moved
that.
his family. Yeah, there's heaps of that. He's
Especially
moved his
with his
family out here to
receptionist.
this island.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The receptionist is talking all the time.
Yeah.
Even though other stuff is going on and people are coming in. It's this like out of control sort of anarchy going on.
Does that also make the audience more invested in what is happening?
Yeah.
Because you're like, tell these people to shut up. Something's happening. Like, we want to know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone's
The
sort
other
of
thing-
too busy and too concerned with other things.
Yeah.
That this shark kills like 3 or 4 people. Well, no, it gets to the kid before it becomes well known. But like, there's so much going on all the time that it's kind of like sort of distraction.
Yeah, it gives it that whole, because there's constant chaos.
Yeah.
Like, because he's, even when there's obviously the home life where the mother and the son are talking. He goes to the police office where he's typing up, and it's like, it's chaos noise there with his receptionist. Then he goes into the street, and there's constantly people coming up to him.
Yeah.
Which kind of really suggests really well that he's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
You know, like,
But
does it also suggest that the magnitude of the situation based on the setting in terms of this is not something that happens in this area?
Yeah, because the people that are like that, going back to that beach scene, I won't hop on, but going back to that beach scene, Brody's there, he's trying to concentrate, or he's just like sort of spaced out on this is going to happen again probably. I have no idea when, I have no idea how to control. And people are coming up to him all the time with like
just random stuff.
Random like
the crappiest
island stuff, like what is all important to them because that's the kind of stuff that happens on the island.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, some guy, you know, it's like, can't remember what it is, but
well, there's,
you know, it's inane sort of policing stuff.
Yeah, like really like crappy stuff. Like one of the when he's walking to the store to make so he can get paints for the signs is like someone's complaining that someone's like karate chop the picket fence.
Yeah,
it's like, that's the worst.
It's
crime
like the
that's
Cub
going
Scouts are now karate chopping all the fences.
yeah,
or
that's
something.
supposed to be the premise of the thing, though. He's like, you know, just about to go to retirement. He's come from New York where it's chaos, you know, 25 hours a day.
Yeah.
And he's gone, how about you take this job on the island? You know, the busiest day or weekend you're going to have is this weekend.
Yeah.
You'll be right. Other than that, it's kids karate chopping fences.
Yeah,
you know, nice little ease into retirement, buy a house there, settle down, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
And all
and
of
there's a
sudden-
great white shark there.
Yeah, and
too.
all of a sudden there's
real problems. But again, I love the fact that he's not like he doesn't because it shows him researching the sharks. He's reading some books, and I like the fact that even throughout the whole movie, he's still complete amateur at everything he does except for police work.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like a lot of movies where they portray a character where he'll read a book once and all of a sudden he's an expert, and like it just kept him at a really humble level, and he knew when to step back. And this young college guy, you know, Hoover. He was in control at certain points, and
This is also...
but that's what's also great about being on the boat with the three of them.
Oh, yeah.
There's one guy calling all the shots, and they're just doing whatever they're
Yeah.
told. You know,
Uber drives the boat.
Yeah.
three
You
different
chum
dynamics.
I think the other thing, getting back to what you were saying, Julian, was that, well, that I've always looked at with this film is, like, we live in Australia. Sharks and crocodiles and things that bite you and kill you and eat you and stuff. It's kind of like, you know, they exist. We know they exist. We live in a country full of them. Like, you know, where we live, they don't exist that much. But to hear someone's been eaten by a shark, or you go, meh, shouldn't have been swimming there.
Well,
Shouldn't
he's
have been
swimming.
there. Yeah, dickhead. But for the rest of the world, you know, sharks are this massively terrifying thing that doesn't exist where they are.
Yeah.
And I think so that the premise from like watching Jaws as an Australian, you go, man, it's a shark.
Yeah.
Nah, sure. Plenty of them. You know, whereas, but in where this island is, there's no sharks. Sharks don't go there. You know, so, and
I suppose that's because that's why everyone's so quick to dismiss any idea of it. I guess. I mean, do we actually find
absolutely,
out why sharks aren't really seen in that area? Like, why? Do we know why? Like, what is it about that spot that why sharks? Do they? I don't know if they mention it in the movie. Or
You
not.
did this last time, didn't you? Where you asked a question where clearly none of us knew.
You asked something about Jupiter last time.
Yeah, I'm just.
it's a great white, and it's basically just a hunter, and it's just
not territorial.
not
They
All
territorial.
this
mention
thing
this.
does
They mention
is
this.
They did mention
and
it.
swim and make little baby sharks.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's probably
They
just
called it territoriality or something.
Territoriality.
But look, that's probably one of the only things.
Territorialsaurus.
It seems to be one of the only things that they kind of got a little bit wrong is that great whites really only live in really, really cold waters.
water.
You know,
Really?
And this is a resort community, isn't
Yeah,
it? Like
yeah.
people go there for.
But the whole point of that is
beach
and
holiday.
getting back to it is, well, this shark shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so what's it doing here?
But somebody does mention that how cold the water is, and I noticed that. And then I was watching people
was
get in
Harry.
the water.
It's cold.
Yeah, and everybody's like fucking freezing. So maybe it's cold enough.
global warming.
Global warming.
Well, they mention it's a rogue shark.
Yeah, it's a rogue.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Rogue. Yeah.
One thing I really liked, obviously, about the difference in the three characters, and I might be jumping a bit forward here, is when the three of them are on the boat at the end, and Quint he's been battling with the shark for quite some time, and he finally gets to a point where they've been pretty battered about, the shark's giving him a real run for their money, and he finally gets to a point where he actually, without directly doing it, kind of asks Hooper for help.
Yeah.
He doesn't directly say, hey, he kind of says, so what have you got in these bag of
Yeah,
tricks?
it's like he gets to a point where he's like, nah, I'm out of ideas.
Yeah, and I was
Right.
like, whoa, okay, this is like his biggest
It's a
challenge.
Really, yeah, it's a really great moment where he's just
Where-
like, all right,
Well, it's
I
almost
need
like
help.
this is Quint's life purpose a bit. Like he's obviously a big
Well,
game
it turns
hunter.
into a very like Captain Ahab.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
about Quint
absolutely.
Because he,
getting
Yeah.
a shark.
he mentions like the taxidermy guy, like what's the
Yeah,
taxidermy
yeah.
guy going to do
Yeah, I
when
wrote
I
that
bring
down
this
too.
in? So he's obviously like a big game hunter or something like that. So he's used to catching and killing or hunting at, like
Sharks,
yeah,
dangerous
yeah,
creatures.
exactly. So this is like this is like his biggest.
Taxidermy. Yeah,
his
his
biggest
taxidermy
test.
man's gonna have a heart attack.
So when it gets into the like, there's a point where he just starts losing it. Like you just like this is starting to break him.
Like
now.
when he smashes the radio.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you just like this is like almost like this is a make or break thing for him. A bit
Yeah.
like this is what he's been waiting for.
Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like going back to that like crazy scene, like
Which one?
the prepping for
Where they're
the-
getting on the boat.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
One point, Quinn's like, I seen one in a rocking chair. Like it's just like spinning. Like Robert Shaw is just producing brilliance out of every word.
What kind of scenario do you
Well,
need to
that's the
be
thing.
in
You
to see a shark eat a rocking chair? Like, how does that happen? Like,
Hey, look, strange things happen. I'm doing renovations on my house, and we dug a hole in the backyard, and I found a washing machine.
what?
Yeah. So maybe a shark did eat a rocking chair. A rocking chair.
So if you're on a boat and you're on a rocking chair and you rocked correctly, you'd be still.
Oh, it's like a gyroscope. Maybe that's how someone invented
That's like,
gyroscopes.
what's the sound of one hand clapping? That's profound.
And then the shark just went, fuck this. Boom.
I don't know. Did
Who
any
brings a
of
rocking
you-
chair on a boat?
Yeah. Did any of you guys notice that Quinn actually has like this sidekick dude? Did anyone notice
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, the
I
old
was
guy.
like, I was like, who is this guy? Maybe that's
Baldrick.
when you mentioned the taxidermist. I'm like, maybe that's the taxidermist
That's
guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was
He's
just
like first mate. Or
I wonder if that guy had like more lines and he's like, yes, this is my big movie break now, and then like deleted scenes.
So while we're on the boat in that third act, the scar scene, where they're comparing scars.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else picked this up, but there's a point where, so Hooper and Quint are going back and forth. There's a point where Brody lifts up his
Yeah.
Mm.
shirt and he's got a scar like on his abdomen,
Oh,
and he pulls it up and looks at it.
Appendix.
Well, see, I don't know. So, but this comes back to what you were saying, Jules, about how he's quite sheltered and humble and not very knowledgeable outside his job, right?
Yeah.
So I had two thoughts go through my head. One was that it was an appendix. Right, he had his appendix out. Like that's his hardcore
And he was
story.
too embarrassed to.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I had my
Surely
appendix
not,
out.
mate.
Or it was the New York cop thing, and it was something far more traumatic
Or
that he couldn't talk about.
it's
Yeah,
got something to
too
do
much
with the
emotional.
reason why he doesn't like boats.
Yeah, but this is why, this is another reason why it's so great.
But that's
because
another- yeah,
it's
that's
these
great, because
things
you
that are
sit there and
just
go, "Ooh,
in
what's that?"
there.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, they give you little insights to the character without just going.
Without
So
going,
when he was a cop in New
Oh,
York,
how about that
this
time
happened."
yeah.
Or he suddenly had a flashback and no.
Yeah.
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 So it takes away all that and makes you actually just sit back and go,
It's just
okay,
like
something's
layers.
there. Don't know what
Yeah.
that is, but something's there.
He's
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I like the theory. Well, not that I like people getting shot, but I like the theory that he got shot. Because I think maybe at one point he was this like stronger dude.
maybe
Maybe that's
he's-
what forced him into this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's why,
Yeah.
he's where he is now.
But his
That was
wife, like before they go, so that the crazy scene where they're all yelling at each other about to go onto the trip, like his wife is in control of what he's doing until he gets on that boat.
Yeah.
She's like, "You've got your rubbers and you got this and you've had your thing in it," and he's like, "Oh yes, dear," like he's very much sheltered. So maybe he's been through some pretty hard traumatic experience, and now
Yeah.
he's like this quiet but still confident
Yeah.
kind of person.
So good.
Yeah, subtleties.
Yeah, we talked about that monologue. It's breathtaking. And I think I want to say Robert Shaw wrote it, but I'm not sure. See what I did
is
there?
that his brother?
Yeah, I like
See
that.
what I did there?
To be sure.
Unintentional pun.
But that's
3
just this like
points.
this whole there's this the scene's so high and happy, and then it's just
Yeah.
and then it goes back up again, and then bang, the shark's
And then
there.
the shark attacks.
And that's that is the wave or roller coaster of this film. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's just, and you don't know what's coming next. And it's great.
So speaking about, okay, so we're on the boat, we're hunting this shark down. Can we talk about this cage scene? Because this cage scene was brutal. I know they're out of ideas,
but getting in the water,
Jesus Christ,
seems ridiculous.
Considering what the shark is doing to a jetty, we're getting in this.
Well, look, to be
they're
fair,
not aware of that.
they weren't there at the jetty.
Yeah, but they heard about it.
Surely word of mouth would get out about the
Sure.
jetty.
No, there's
an
a scene. There's a scene straight after where that deputy is actually telling Brody about it.
that jetty? Jeez.
Well, no, he's telling because they're more laughing about the wife's roast. He's like, oh, no, we spend
yeah,
it.
that's right.
And he's like, that's not a laugh. That's not funny. That's not a laughing matter, or something like.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's obviously aware of it. But is that just a clear cut case of pure desperation?
Well, that's what I think. Like, I wrote a note down when they were putting it together, like, well, the cage is out. This is going to get slaughtered. And even though, I'd seen it before, but it's like, it's like of all the stuff that they're doing, like, holy shit.
It's the equivalent of running upstairs in a horror film.
Yeah. But I mean, does oh shit, now I've forgotten his name.
Hooper.
Does Hooper? I can't help but think this guy's got a little bit of a death wish, man, because when they're out and about using the fish finder at nighttime, Brody and Hooper, and they stumble across the half sunken boat, and Hooper gets in the water there as well, with no cage. Like just before that epic jump scare where the friggin' head comes out.
Before that though, sorry, not before that. In that scene, where he finds the head, he didn't know it was a great white. Like they don't know what they're dealing with at that point.
It's not until he finds.
So he's like, "Let's get out in the water
tooth.
and find out." And he finds the tooth, and he's like, "Dude, that was a great white tooth."
Yeah,
But he drops it.
And that's when he doesn't panic, but he's like, "This is serious. This is a great white. We're in all sorts of trouble here."
that's right. Because
You
in
need
the
to
next
close the
scene is
beaches.
when they're talking to the mayor.
Yeah, in
near
front of the billboard.
That's
And
hilarious.
I really like that bit with Hooper, where the mayor is just not budging.
Yeah.
And Hooper comes up and he's like, "I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
Yeah.
Or when
You guys can all die."
where those guys are all getting ready to go out on the boat, and Hooper's like, "Don't go out there," and he just turns around and goes, "Well, they're all going to die." It's so good.
Yeah, but I can't help but think that Hooper is just like, I mean, yes, he doesn't know, but I suppose why would you get in the water?
At
Why
the
would you
same,
get in
I
the
don't know,
water?
but look, at the same time, he is emotionally invested in this too, because this is his life's work as well.
He almost has to be right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, Hoover's
And in fact,
got a real arrogance.
the
about
mayor
him.
says it at one point in that scene that we were just talking about. He's
billboard.
like, in the billboard scene.
Yep.
He says to Hooper, "Oh, you just want to." It's right before that line. He's like, "Oh, you just want the glory
Get on the cover of
National Geographic.
Yeah.
You just want the glory of finding the shark. You don't actually care about us islanders. Like it's a real us and them."
Yeah, and there's a scene because there's actually a scene where, in that beach scene where Brody's watching all the people just before the kid gets eaten, where some woman very clearly says, "Oh, if you're not an islander, you never will be."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so that really helps to show that separation. But the mayor is. I understand he's trying to further his political gain. I kind of found him a bit unbelievable. Like a lot of the characters in this movie are very believable, and I was like, that's really cool. But I found the mayor a bit unbelievable. Like surely no one in their right mind is going to act the way he does. Even after the kid gets killed, he gets his friends. When everyone comes to the beach, but no one's getting in the water.
Yeah, he makes
And
his
that's
friends get in the
brutal.
water.
his friends are like, get in the water, man, and they're like terrified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the shot of the mother, they're all walking in, she's just like wide-eyed.
They're
just,
terrified. Like this guy is willing to send his friends to their deaths.
But
to, like,
see, I think that demonstrates that blind arrogance because after that kid gets taken, he's talking to someone. And he's like, "My kids were on that beach too." Like,
Oh, yeah, it's when
I
he's
didn't
talking to
realize.
Brody,
I didn't realize what a mistake. Because
it's
he's
in the
just
hospital,
He's
yeah.
like, "This is our biggest weekend." Like you said, Brad. Those sharks don't exist in those waters. So why would anyone expect? Like, no one's believing Brody
because when they
it's like-
saying they were they were touting that the first girl was a boating accident or something. weren't
Yeah,
they?
That's
caught-
what it was
hit by
initially reported
boat,
as.
yeah.
propeller.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah. No, that man. Can we talk about his fashion sense?
Apparently, he found that in an op shop or something.
Oh, really?
That jacket.
I love it. With the little
So
anchors
good
all
with the
over it.
anchors,
Oh
yeah.
man.
That guy played like a mayor or some form of politician in just about every single movie he was in.
Oh really?
Absolutely.
You know what? He as dumb as the mayor is, he makes one good decision for the whole movie, and that is when all the fishermen
Blue suit?
Yes.
Two good
decisions. It's when there's a bunch of fishermen, and obviously everyone's in a row. They all want to claim this prize of $3,000 for catching the shark, and the mayor makes one good decision to say, we're not going to cut the shark open right now and have that kid fall out just in case this is the shark. It's like the one good decision he makes for the whole movie, I reckon.
Yeah,
Other
but
than
he
that,
also,
he's a
like, you know,
dickhead.
the decisions made and his whole character is it's obviously purposely done like this, but it's all about saving votes.
Yes,
You know, it's like,
exactly.
These are voters that are
he's
coming
like,
out here.
I'm
and
not
doing-
having. I don't want to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
Well,
This is bad for my image, and this next election they will think about this.
One thing that's really awesome about that scene where they got the shark strung up and the mayor, you know, all the fishermen are celebrating, that like as a movie watcher, you know that's not the shark. You're like, that's not the shark. We're only 30 minutes in or however long it's been going for, right? So you know it's not the shark. But I love the fact that they've got the main character of the movie being Sergeant Brody. He's even celebrating as well.
He's so into
ecstatic.
it. Yeah. He's
And
like,
I'm like,
yeah, you guys did it.
cool, you
and
know?
Hooper's like, nah, this
Yeah.
isn't it, man.
But even Hooper is like, it could be.
oh yeah, that's
He's like,
right.
it's a tiger shark. Maybe the jaw's a bit small, but it could be, and that's why they have to go and cut it open at night and you know get the entrails out. But
That's a good point, though, in terms of Brody celebrating.
Yeah.
Like, it just shows that he has no idea. Like, he's...
No,
Yeah.
clueless.
Yeah.
He sees any shark, he goes, "Oh my god, it's a big shark! It looks dangerous."
It's a big
Happy
shark.
days.
It's a fair
shark.
call.
Caught a shark. Done.
Especially if
pretty
you
much,
come
yeah.
from
Stamp it up.
I didn't come here for this crap.
That's it.
Done. That's a shark.
Now,
We're
where
outta
were
here.
those kids with a picket fence?
Yeah, exactly right.
next case. No unsolved crimes
Case closed.
in Amity Island.
Amity Island, yeah.
So I think it's just another one of those little nuances in this film that really just give it a really humane feel. You know, he's happy because, you know, like every Hollywood movie, like it's always the main character where it's like, I don't think that's it, you know, like whereas he as the main character, I mean, I think it's fair to
Well,
say
he's
the
really
main character.
flawed, and because he's so flawed, it makes him accessible to us. Like it means that we can relate to him because you'd be like, yeah, sweet, we got it. You know,
Yeah,
like,
and that's the thing, like, you know, New York hunting down, you know, robbers and pimps and stuff. Yeah, no worries. Catching a shark?
I don't know anything about sharks.
So what do I do with my hands, you know?
That's it. Yeah. Nah, awesome film. I've actually seen The Shark, I'm proud to say. I went to on the Hollywood tour
Nice.
at Universal Studios and saw the old rusty, broken down, saddest looking
yeah.
mechanical device I've ever seen in my life.
There were 4. I
Oh,
think.
is that many?
Yeah.
Wow, I saw one.
Nice.
It looked pretty shit.
Well, it
I
would.
must say.
And there was I was watching a making of doco, it must have been, and they were talking about how they spent a lot of time just waiting, either for the shark to work or they were saying like a sailboat would appear in the background
Oh,
and they'd have to wait until it got all the way across. And they'd be like, ready, and then hope another sailboat would come across.
that'd be punishing. Amazing.
But yeah, like I just like for Spielberg's second film. Look, I'm a little bit ashamed to say I haven't seen Duel, but I'm very keen to.
Really?
Yeah.
See, watch Jill.
You have to watch Duel.
Well, maybe
You'll have to.
maybe pick it for your next film. Yeah.
No, that's it. Al, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but watch a Duel.
But
man.
watch Duel.
Duel, mate.
Or I'll kill you.
I know you have, freedom is like you have independent thought, but watch it.
Do it.
but do it.
But like for look, the last, like for Spielberg's second film, this is incredible.
Oh,
Especially for the mid 70s. I mean, the last one we did, Moon, was that Duncan Jones's first feature. Like that's pretty hot straight off the bat as well. But you know, like it's a massive achievement. And then to think that he went on from there and just like shat gold for another 30 years.
Yeah.
Like it's great to see how strong this is right from the start.
Yeah.
And just how I really love hearing those kind of directors talk about their films. I feel like J.J. Abrams is sort of like a current one, and he's almost like a protege of Spielberg. Like, has anyone seen Super 8?
Yes.
Yeah. Super 8 is J.J.'s like a love letter to Steven Spielberg's monster movies. Really,
that's a weird movie.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
I like it.
But I love those directors that are so passionate about just making movies. Like making movies is great because I love watching movies, right?
Yeah.
Like and you can see that in the way they talk about their films, no matter how old they are or how much trouble it was to make them and that sort of stuff.
I reckon this is what you just said. I've never really thought about it until you just said it then. This is probably one of the biggest issues I have with the current like superhero films that are coming out. Is that to me they feel like they're just mass producing them and just churning them out as quickly as possible, as opposed to really putting that love into them without getting into it too much.
Disagree to a degree.
All right.
I think like the big run of movies at the moment is coming, like it's the Marvel DC competition. It's now just happening in film, and I think Marvel are doing amazing things. Right? They have created a universe that it's accessible for heaps of people. Like they've broadened their audience out of comics hugely, and they've now created this universe where like a really good example is Captain America 3 came out recently, right? Civil War. And most people know that to catch up with what's going on, you don't find the answers in Captain America 2. You find it in Ant-Man or
Iron
in,
Man,
in Avengers. Like they've created this universe, and that's an amazing thing that they've been able to build a coherent universe over like 15 or 20 films. That's engaged so many people. I think it's very different to what we're talking about
probably
with Jaws.
what I'm used to is I'm used to having a movie like Jaws. You go, wow, that is a one of a kind. Even though they made some sequels, I think.
Yeah, they made 3.
Yeah, let's pretend they didn't. Let's just say they made 1. But anyway, like I like that as opposed to having that broad universe kind of movie. But I suppose.
Yeah, I just think it's like there are definitely films that are just like churned out. Like they're up to like the 5th Transformers or something. You know, like
that would have been a better example.
But look, we all sit here and groan, but they're making it because people are going to see them. Like the only reason, well, not the only, but a very large reason for films getting made now is because they're a successful business venture. I can put $20 into a film and get $100 out.
Yeah,
because it's what people are paying to see, right? Like, whereas, and like I was saying earlier, Jaws is like, one of the first big summer blockbusters.
Yeah.
But it was still so expertly crafted.
Yeah.
That people were seeing it because it was a challenging film. It made people feel stuff, as opposed to it being a recognizable franchise. Like, oh yeah, I've seen those other Transformers. I like them because they're big robots fighting and stuff. Yeah, let's go see another one. Like,
yeah, can you think off the top of your head another film that really nails home the fear that Jaws has? I'm just trying to think. It just popped in my head then. I'm trying to think of it because Jaws legitimately made people afraid to go in the water. I'm trying to think of another movie that's ever done that.
2 words.
Point Break.
Not Point Break.
Jurassic Park.
Wolf Creek.
Oh, okay, of course.
That movie messed me up.
Oh, yeah.
But I was terrified.
What, so you're just on your shitbox rally?
Oh, yeah,
recently?
absolutely. Yeah. The amount of times that Wolf Creek was mentioned as we went into, or drove out of towns and went, ooh. Look at that shed.
right.
Ooh.
That's a fair point.
I just,
Yeah,
I,
didn't
I
That
can't, I
movie was
can't think of
messed
too many films. I mean, don't get me wrong, you got your horror films, and you watch a horror film, and then you turn the lights out to go to bed, and you're like, oh shit, is there something behind me? But movies that genuinely instill fear, like Jaws and Wolf Creek do, like I can't.
Well,
think
the thing with Jaws and Wolf Creek, not comparing them together at all, but
No.
the similarities they have is that they've used. So Wolf Creek used a lot of, like, you can tell that it's based on stuff that actual
actually
backpack
happened.
murders.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit from here and a little bit from there and a little bit from here. But you sit there and you go, did this happen?
And they're
Do I
real-
actually remember this happening?
they're
Was
real-
this
they're real
Yeah.
places, too.
And they're real places and things. And Jaws was the same. It's like all the information's factual.
Yeah, 'cause
and it
we're-
gives you this. Well, hang on.
Jaws
this is
was
actually
based
real.
on,
based on
the
a book.
book,
Called Jaws.
but the book
Oh, really?
was inspired by a series of shark attacks
That's
that
right.
were happening on some insane heat wave in New Jersey.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
I read it somewhere. I don't know where, but yeah.
What's his name? I wrote
couldn't-
down Peter Benchley, and he played the news reporter on the beach.
Oh,
Oh,
now
really?
speaking of well dressed, that bloke,
I really-
that man was a snappy
he
dresser.
had a shirt to die.
Yeah.
for.
I liked what he really delivered his lines well. Like he was like it was just a little sentence he came up with. I can't remember what it was now, but it was such a good line. I don't know. I'm not going to.
Some news, yeah, and he
Great news reporter.
co-wrote the screenplay as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he adapted.
That's good.
His own work.
Yeah.
The thing I like about this is it really does show that, well, one, that Steven Spielberg was a genius.
Born to make movies.
Born
yeah.
to make movies. It's a great story. It's a great script. And even the fact that the shark didn't work in a lot of scenes, and they just went, oh, this is just crap. Let's just write around it. And they had great guys there that wrote a better story than what they started with.
Yeah.
With the fact that, it didn't rely on CGI that's, so overdone in so many things these days. It was just this very easy to shoot film. Well, I suppose in 1975 there probably wasn't much more than that, but,
You know what would have been sweet if Jaws, the sequel to Jaws,
Where is this going to go?
if this because
the look on your face is just enough to say this is going somewhere
Jaws got a
awful.
Tech 9 and he's
No,
having
no, no.
revenge.
Freaking laser beam.
get this, okay.
Okay.
So at the end, their boat sunk, right, and they're paddling off back to shore.
Yeah.
Sequel is Castaway, right, and then obviously one of them dies, so the sequel's Castaway. But then when they get off, when whoever survives, let's say it's Brody, gets off the island,
Yeah.
people are like, oh, we had a couple of shark attacks ages ago, but it wasn't a big deal. And he's like trying to convince everyone that there was this really big shark. That'd be a sweet sequel.
That's an interesting one.
I'm just saying.
Shit, I like it. Good fan theory.
I like
Yes.
I love a good fan theory.
Because that's what I said. I thought basically the very last thing, if I can get to my notes,
Is them
on my
swimming away on the barrels.
yeah, they were
Yeah,
swimming
last
away
thing,
on the
yeah.
barrels, and I just said plot twist. They drift and die of starvation trying to get back to land. Because you can't see any land. They're just
There's no land.
They're
They're just-
swimming to
But
open water.
in saying that, I did notice in a couple of shots because they are before the boat engine dies, they are hooting back to land.
Yeah.
They've gone full throttle, and in a couple of scenes, land is quite close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's not.
And it seems like they're kind of swimming out to sea as opposed to going towards the big landmass that's behind them. But I don't know. Should we
Should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
start to wrap it up? Maybe give some
It's ours-
scores.
It's ours film.
Some scores.
So what's the San Dimas School of Film rating system?
The San Dimas scale is how we rate our films, Tim. We rate our films on a scale of how good it is compared to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, of course, which gets 100% because we are the San Dimas School of Film. So a film can be worse than that, get a lower percentage. It can be higher than that, can be better than that, and get a higher percentage. Yes,
What do you think?
loved it. 130% for me.
Ooh,
Yeah.
liked it much more than
Strong film.
All
Yeah.
right.
No sandwiches?
Did I eat any sandwiches? I don't think so. No, only because I've seen it a lot and I love it and I know it really well. But I don't think I was eating
No
sandwiches.
sandwiches.
No.
So yeah, for
I
people-
certainly didn't. If I was going to eat a sandwich during this film, I would pause it. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind pausing it.
So it's
Or-
not it's not worthy of turning a blind eye to. You have to pause the film.
Yeah,
Basically, the sandwich system works is if you get distracted and get up to go make a sandwich, clearly you're not invested in the film, and
Yeah.
So
Whereas I would happily get up to make a sandwich,
but
I'll pause it.
providing
okay.
it's paused.
Or prepare the sandwiches before.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Tuna sandwiches.
Tuna sandwiches.
and a pea bottle.
Yeah. yeah, exactly.
Brad?
Look, I so want to give this a 200 because this literally is in my top top 2, top 3. But
You don't jump the shark. Though.
yeah, exactly right. So I don't want to do it. So I'm going to back it off to like let's go a 160.
Nice.
This is one of the all-time great films that it'll never get old. It will scare the hell out of kids for 100 years to come, and it's just brilliant. Everything about it is brilliant. There's hardly any faults in it. I just love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Zero sandwiches.
Zero. Look, I won't give it.
sandwich.
I won't give it any
Yeah.
sandwiches. Like awesome film. I'd say from my childhood, I was more invested in Bill and Ted's, so I'd prefer Bill and Ted's over this. So I'm gonna have to go below 100%. I mean, look, it's
all right.
It's all right, but it's close.
Your rating, man.
You just offended the shit out of Al.
Well, look, you know what? One thing that makes us great is I think we have good differences of opinions. But it's
you're wrong.
definitely up there. Look, I'd definitely give it a solid 90%. Absolutely. I was thinking about 95, but I'm like, no, I would still prefer Bill and Ted. So 90%, no sandwiches. Yeah.
Timmy, finish it off. Bring it home.
It's an interesting one because there were some slow moments where I could have gotten up and made a sandwich without thinking twice about it.
Is that because you've seen it so many times, though?
No, I haven't. I've only seen it maybe 3 times. Max.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't really seen it a whole lot. So, and I only really saw it for the first time pretty recently. Like I'm talking within the last couple of years, I reckon. So
Wow.
I've been a late comer to this one, but if say we had a random Friday night and you put 2 movies down in front of me and said we've got Jaws or we've got Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I'd probably select Bill and Ted. I mean,
that's a have we been at the pub?
we may. I think we've been.
How many people?
How many people in the room?
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
I don't think it matters.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to rain on your
might be
thunder.
looking into this too much.
But
I'm
look,
just like, are you coming home from the pub by yourself and going, I might put a movie on? Or we all go, let's go back to my place for a movie.
oh,
See?
okay, that makes it a bit different. Look, if I'm going back by myself, so if I've gone to the pub and I've gone home and I'm like, I might sneak something cheeky on, have something to eat, and maybe head to bed a bit later, I'd probably put Bill and Ted on. If there was more than one of me and there was maybe a group of us, yeah, I might consider Jaws.
See, I would be the
I'd do
exact
the
opposite.
Yeah, I'd do the opposite.
Yeah. I'd be like,
absolutely.
come back to my place, boys. Let's watch Bill and Ted's on.
Yeah.
I'd be like, on my own, I'm like, I'm getting Jaws out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh,
Sorry.
percentage-wise?
Sorry.
I don't even know what's going on anymore. So, yeah, I mean, look, I enjoy it. I think it's very well made. I think I like the characters. But at the same time, it's not a movie that I would watch a lot. I wouldn't watch it 4 times a year. I wouldn't watch it once a year. I'd watch it occasionally, So I'd probably give it maybe 88%, maybe somewhere in there.
That's very specific.
We'll kill them later.
But I mean, look, it's and I give it, because obviously I've given movies a lot lower than that. But I think that I have a very deep appreciation for this film, regardless.
Yeah.
It's all right. We'll let him leave.
So it's not, it's more of a, I don't know, maybe it's just a movie that doesn't 100% click with me, I suppose. Plus, I spent a lot of this movie just fucking hating on the humans so bad. Like, I think all the humans in this movie are just
cheering for the shark. Yeah, eat that kid.
Well, I mean, look, there was a point where I was just kind of feeling like the shark was pretty ruthless. It was kind of, the shark was very, like, you could kind of see where they went with Anaconda. Like, just keep coming back. Just
Shark-
swim away.
Shark was hungry.
It's also
cut him some slack.
Bloody big shark.
It's very topical at the moment as well with the amount of.
But I mean, the thing is,
7.62 meters. the shark is.
That's massive. But
That's big.
It's a big shark.
But yeah, like I spent a lot of time, and towards the end, I was just kind of feeling sorry for the shark a bit. You know, he was just getting pummeled. It felt very Moby Dickish to me in terms of and just all the stuff of kill the sharks and weird tourism, and I just hate a lot of people in this film. So so it's
Very cool.
yeah, that probably. But in saying that though, it is a very good film. So
Nice one.
that's my rant over it.
Well, gentlemen, it has been an absolute delight talking with you this evening.
We have one more duty for today.
Two.
Oh, of course.
We've got two. You're going to shoot the email.
Oh, of course. If anyone has any problem with anything we've said, then
Please direct it to our complaints department.
yeah, correct. Which is sandemusfilm@gmail.com.
Okay, it
So,
is.
I think it's time for selecting the next film, and I'm very worried because it is one Julian Slaney's turn.
Obviously, as we do, we have great difficulties selecting what film to discuss, and I had a lot of movies in my mind where I was like, yeah, let's put another Speed on, or another movie that I really like. And the movie that I've chosen, I do really like, but I think it's worthy of discussion. It's a movie I've watched multiple times, and I still don't completely understand it. I haven't quite completely
I'm worried.
figured it
I
out.
reckon
I'm so
I've got
worried.
something in my mind, so I'm going to say
so
So do I.
Yeah, all right.
And I'm really worried.
What if all three of us say it at once?
All right, I'll tell you what. How about you three guys, on the count of three, you say what you think it is, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see if you guys get it all at the same time, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. All right,
ready?
ready? 1, 2, 3.
Donnie Darko.
Not even close. Okay, so the movie I've chosen, like I said, I've watched it multiple times, and I still don't completely understand it, which is why I think it's definitely worthy of a discussion. It's a Guy Ritchie film. It was made in 2006, and it is called Revolver.
Ooh, nice.
All right, and now everyone's sitting there going, what the hell is a Revolver? It's a pretty unknown
That's
film.
not Lock, Stock.
It's not Lock, Stock. It's a bit of an odd film, so now...
Well played, Sloane.
yeah, Revolver, so... Yeah.
Oh, hang on a sec. Who's in that?
Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Statham,
and
is that his name? Mm-hmm. I don't know anyway. He was in Reservoir Dogs. What's his name?
You'll have to
there
find
was a
out.
few guys.
Steve Buscemi.
No, not Buscemi. Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta's
Not
in
Reservoir
Reservoir
not
Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs. What's the one about the bloody-
Goodfellas.
Is it Goodfellas?
Ray
Goodfellas. Yeah, Ray Liotta. Yeah, sorry, Goodfellas, not Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
I am totally editing that out.
Revolver.
I think I've seen this.
Well, Revolver it is then for the next one. Thanks, Jules. Like I said before, it has been a delight and a pleasure spending the evening with you gentlemen, talking about films that I love. Thanks for joining us out there for the San Dimas School Film. We hope you come back. Tell your friends. Hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time.